I've been a divorce lawyer for over 20 years, and some cases stay with me forever, but this one is different. Today, I want to tell you about a woman named Sarah, whose 28-year marriage ended in a way she never saw coming. What happened that ordinary Tuesday would change her life forever, and it's a story every woman should hear. Sarah and Michael had been married for 28 years. They met when they were both young adults, full of hope and excitement for the future. Michael was ambitious and charming, while Sarah was thoughtful, kind, and determined to build a life that mattered. From the moment they met, there was a spark that neither could ignore, and they quickly fell in love. Their friends often said they seemed perfect together, the kind of couple who could weather any storm. In those early years, their marriage was filled with laughter, late-night conversations, and endless dreams of the life they would build. They shared plans of traveling the world, buying a home, and raising children who would grow up surrounded by love and warmth. Those dreams became the foundation of their life together, a life that from the outside looked flawless. Over the years, Sarah and Michael became parents to 2 children. Raising their kids brought joy, challenges, and countless memorable moments. From school recitals to birthday parties, family vacations to quiet evenings at home, they built routines that felt comforting and safe. Their home was a place of stability, a cozy suburban house with a small garden where their children played, laughter echoing through the walls. To neighbors and friends, Sarah and Michael's marriage was the definition of success. A loving couple, 2 healthy children, and a home that radiated warmth. But beyond the smiles and family photos, their marriage was quietly changing. The love that once seemed effortless had begun to require effort to maintain. They both carried the weight of responsibilities, work, bills, and family obligations that slowly began to shift their focus from each other. Yet despite these subtle changes, Sarah believed in the life they had created and the promises they had made. She trusted that the bond they had formed over nearly 3 decades would withstand any challenges. From the outside, Sarah and Michael's life looked perfect, unshakable, and enviable. To friends, family, and colleagues, they were the couple who had it all. Yet, as often happens in long marriages, the quiet complexities and unspoken struggles of their relationship were invisible to everyone else. Behind closed doors, there were moments of tension, small disappointments, and conversations left unsaid, details that would eventually grow into cracks in the foundation of their marriage. Through all of this, Sarah remained committed to her family and her marriage. She nurtured their home, supported Michael's career, and guided their children with love and care. Michael, too, remained dedicated in his own way, though his focus increasingly shifted toward work and personal projects. Together, they had created a life of stability, comfort, and routine, a life that seemed secure and everlasting. Yet, as this story will show, sometimes even the strongest foundations can face challenges that are unseen, unspoken, and ultimately unavoidable. Sarah and Michael's journey is a reminder that what looks perfect from the outside can sometimes hide struggles that only time reveals. And for Sarah, that ordinary life, 28 years of love, effort, and commitment, was about to face a turning point she never anticipated. For many years, Sarah and Michael's marriage followed a rhythm that felt familiar and comforting. Mornings were busy but manageable. Michael would leave early for work, brief kisses and hurried coffee their morning ritual, while Sarah prepared breakfast and got the children ready for school. Though routine, these moments were filled with care, small gestures that quietly reinforced their life together. Weekends were when the family truly came alive. Long walks in the park, lazy afternoons reading stories, and dinners that often stretched late into the evening with laughter and conversation. Holidays were especially meaningful. Thanksgiving and Christmas were celebrated with care and tradition. decorating the house, baking favorite recipes, and inviting family and friends over to share the joy. Birthdays were meticulously planned, the children's faces lit up with excitement as they unwrapped gifts and blew out candles. Sarah found happiness in organizing these events, seeing her family smile and thrive under her efforts. Michael, though sometimes distracted by work, contributed in his own way, offering thoughtful presents, helping with school projects, and making small gestures of affection that reminded Sarah of the bond they shared. On the surface, life was harmonious, predictable, and safe. Yet, beneath the daily routines, subtle shifts were taking place. Michael's career had begun to demand more of his time and attention. He often worked late into the night, returning home exhausted, barely able to engage in meaningful conversation. Sarah, too, felt the toll of responsibilities, managing the household, overseeing the children's schedules, and maintaining social obligations. These pressures, while manageable individually, began to create an emotional distance that neither fully acknowledged at first. Small frustrations started to surface. Michael no longer shared his thoughts as openly, and Sarah felt a growing sense of isolation despite being physically present in the home. Simple disagreements became more frequent about finances, chores, or the children's choices. Even when the issues were minor, the accumulation of unspoken tension began to cast a shadow over their daily interactions. Sarah tried to address them with patience and care, but often found her words met with silence or indifference. Over time, these little cracks in communication began to widen. Despite this, Sarah remained committed to the marriage. She held tightly to the memories of their early love, the children they had raised, and the life they had built together. She reminded herself of the promises they made to each other all those years ago, believing that enduring love could weather these quiet storms. Friends and neighbors continued to see the smiling couple. No one suspected the growing emotional distance within the home. Outward appearances remained polished, masking the struggles that were quietly reshaping their relationship. It was during these years, amidst routines and responsibilities, that the subtle warning signs of trouble were forming, signs that would eventually become impossible to ignore. The love that had once felt effortless now required conscious effort to maintain. Moments of joy coexisted with growing tension, and each day became a balancing act between maintaining appearances and addressing the silent shifts in their marriage. Sarah, devoted and hopeful, continued to do her part, unaware that life was quietly preparing a turning point she could never have imagined. As the years went by, the subtle cracks in Sarah and Michael's marriage became harder to ignore. What had once been gentle disagreements now lingered longer and hurt deeper. Sarah noticed that Michael seemed distant, even when he was physically present, his laughter less frequent, his smiles more forced. Conversations that once flowed easily were now clipped and transactional, limited to logistics about bills, schedules, or errands. She tried to hold on to the small gestures that had once kept their connection alive. A kind word, a shared joke, or a quiet touch on the shoulder. But increasingly, these gestures went unanswered or unnoticed. It wasn't dramatic fights that marked the shift. It was the quiet, accumulating tension. Michael began leaving the house earlier in the morning and returning later at night. Weekends, once full of family activities, were increasingly filled with errands and work calls. Sarah found herself speaking to an empty room when trying to discuss plans or share her feelings. She felt invisible in moments that once held intimacy and warmth. Small signs, like forgotten anniversaries or fleeting indifference, added to the mounting unease. Sarah sought to bridge the gap. She suggested date nights, small conversations, even family outings, anything to rekindle the connection that seemed to be slipping away. But her efforts were met with mild acknowledgement at best, and sometimes with irritation or fatigue. Michael was not unkind, but he was distracted, emotionally unavailable. and unaware of how his distance was affecting her. It was as if the life they had built together was still standing, but the bond holding it together was quietly fraying. Friends and family noticed some changes, but not the full extent. To the outside world, Sarah and Michael were the same accomplished couple who had built a stable, loving household. Yet behind closed doors, the emotional distance was widening at a pace neither wanted to admit. Sarah began to feel anxious, questioning her worth, her role in the marriage, and whether the years she had invested in their relationship were slipping away. Each unspoken frustration, each quiet withdrawal felt like a small stone chipping at the foundation of the life they had built. Then came that ordinary Tuesday, the day that changed everything. After dinner, Michael asked to speak privately. Sarah, like so many nights before, expected a brief conversation or minor discussion, but the words he spoke that evening shattered the quiet stability of their lives. Michael told Sarah he wanted a divorce. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Sarah, who had devoted nearly 3 decades of her life to this marriage, was left stunned, her mind racing to understand how the life she had nurtured could unravel in a single conversation. It was not a fight, not a dramatic confrontation, just a calm, deliberate statement that ended everything she had known. When Sarah walked into my office a few days later, her eyes reflected the disbelief, confusion, and pain that so often accompany the breaking point in long marriages. She was not angry, just lost. As a divorce lawyer, I have seen many couples arrive at this moment, each with their own story, but few cases hit so deeply, highlighting how even seemingly perfect marriages can face turning points that no one anticipates. When Sarah walked into my office that week, I immediately sensed the weight she carried. She wasn't angry or confrontational. She was quiet, lost, and searching for answers. After nearly 3 decades of marriage, the life she had poured herself into felt as though it was slipping through her fingers. And she wasn't alone. Millions of women in long-term marriages experience the same quiet heartbreak. Many people think divorce happens suddenly, as if triggered by one dramatic event. In reality,